It is 5:45, and I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Lucia-Mar Unified School District Board of Education for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023 to order. Let the record reflect that all board members are present. I need a motion to adopt this evening's agenda.
I move to accept the meeting for October 17th, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Santos, second by Mayor. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayer?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. We do have minutes to approve tonight. We have two sets of minutes, one from the special meeting on October 3rd, 2023, and another set from the regular meeting of October 3rd, 2023. Would any trustee like to make amendments to those minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for adoption of the minutes.
I move approval of the regular meeting of October 3rd, 2023 minutes and approval of the special meeting of October 3rd, 2023 minutes.
Second?
Motion by Martin, second by Santos. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Mayer?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Bernier?
I dissent. I was absent.
I'm sorry?
I wasn't here.
Okay. Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Which moved us to closed session. If any member of the public would like to comment on closed session agenda items, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no movement in the boardroom, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to adjourn to closed session, where we're going to discuss conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, conference with labor negotiators, public employee discipline, dismissal, release complaint, and student discipline. We are adjourned to closed session at 5:47 p.m. It is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to reconvene the regular meeting of the Lucia-Mar Unified School District Board of Education for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023 to order. The board has been in closed session since 5:47 p.m., and we have two items to report out. The board approved an agreement for the resignation of a permanent custodian. The votes were unanimous, all 7 in favor of that. Also, in closed session, the governing board approved an agreement in OAH case number 202-305-1049, resolving special education issues through the 2024-2025 school year by funding educational services not to exceed $53,320, respectively, in 2022-2023, 2023-2024, and 2024-2025, plus attorney's fees not to exceed $35,000. The vote on that one was also unanimous. I am happy to turn it over to Dr. Fawcett to introduce our flag salute, our falcon.
First grader at Fairgrove Elementary. Peyton likes learning new things at school and playing with her friends during recess. Her favorite subject is writing. She's good friends with everyone and enjoys helping others. Outside of school, she's very active in horseback riding. She competes regularly in Gymkhana, and she just won a giant belt buckle recently too that she's very proud of. And we truly enjoy having her at Fairgrove, and we enjoy having her at the board meeting to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So Peyton, we're going to follow you now, so go ahead and come on up.
Good job.
Yeah.
Salute flag.
Pledge allegiance to
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, Peyton. Really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, making Fairgrove proud. We're going to start in the business of the district. You're welcome to stay, but you're also welcome, I know it's a school night, to head out as well. And now I'm going to turn it over to items of interest from the board. Mrs. Mayor.
I'd like to start so we don't have duplications. Attended the city council meeting last week honoring Coach Allen for his 200th win in girls water polo, and it was wonderful. Large turnout from the community. 4 listening tours: Paulding Middle School, Grover Heights Elementary, Dan Elementary, Ocean View Elementary. wonderful to hear from the teachers and how their year is going so far. And tax season was supposed to end yesterday. And in case you haven't heard, it's been extended till November 16th, I believe, which is a Thursday. I was shocked. Couldn't believe it. So much for Mr. Eichberger's budget. Okay, that's it from me.
Thank you. Any other items of interest from board members? Ms. Santos.
I went to a listening tour, and I went to a fundraiser which supported AG and Napomo in their sports. Also, I don't know if you know, but a year ago, my house flooded. We're still working on it. But anyway, I've had the opportunity to go through boxes and boxes and boxes. Well, in those boxes, surprises about the history of Lucia Martin. So little by little, I've been giving them to Dr. Fawcett. So let him review them, and I think he'll share some of that with you later on. But it goes back to, I think it was 1978 or 79. So it's funny to see that some of you people out there who are now in administration and so forth were teachers back then and stuff. So it was quite interesting. For students. Well,
For students.
they were students, yeah, themselves. They're just babies. So we'll share all that history with you pretty soon.
Thanks, Ms. Santos. Any other items of interest? Ms. Kendall.
I'll just say that I really enjoyed listening tours, Branch, Dana, Napomo High School, my old work site, and Ocean View. And it's really great to hear from teachers and staff. And the CTE breakfast was really nicely done.
Thank you, Ms. Kendall. Ms. Naomi Bernier.
Thank you, President Stewart. I've also attended the listening tours. I'm actually signed up for all of them. So I've really enjoyed listening to teachers and the accolades as well as their triumphs, and also things that we need to work on. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Naomi Bernier. Any other items of interest from the board? I'll also add my concurrence. I was at Paulding and Branch for listening tours. It's great to hear what's going great on our campuses, and also to hear back where our staff is feeling like we can help support them more. So they are the best, the experts at their sites. And I also continue to attend the board president's workshop on a weekly basis, where we share best practices about what other districts are seeing across the county. And if there are no other items of interest from the board, I will kick it off to Dr. Fawcett for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Stewart. And I get to do something a little bit special this evening and showcase some of our students' work. Central Coast New Tech High School does what's called a Do Something About It project, and students advocate for various initiatives and priorities. And today I'd like to invite up Elizabeth Moore, Haija Antonio, Samantha Ramirez, and Zatalia Avila to give a presentation on a class that they're advocating for. And they're going to come on up to the mic, and I think they have a little handout for you as well. So excited to hear from them.
Okay, so good evening, members of the board and the community. As Dr. Fawcett stated, we are juniors at Central Coast New Tech High School, and we are currently working on our Do Something About It project. And tonight we will be presenting the issue that we found and our solutions. So right now we have a document for you, the guys, that is a brief overview of our My name is Elizabeth Moore.
I'm Samantha Ramirez.
And I'm Haija Antonio.
I'll wait to start with the paper.
It's great to see you all again.
Thank you.
Here's another one.
So to get started with the Do Something About It project, we find a problem that we see within our community and try to fix it. So one problem that we saw with our community was a lack of home ec classes. So we wish to bring that back into Lucia Marr, starting with our school, Central Coast New Tech. And we wish to add classes with lessons like finance, cooking, cleaning, car repair, and more. So on the paper, you can see there's 3 reasons why students feel unprepared for life after high school. One of those being lack of effective life skills education. And we wish to combat that by adding in home ec again. And proof of this is that 1 in 5 college grads, which is 17% of the students surveyed, said that they still don't know how to cook or clean for themselves, which is a really, really big part of adulting. And 26% said that they still don't know basic apartment maintenance, so like unclogging a toilet or resetting a Wi-Fi router.
Also, a survey conducted by Study Finds found that 87% of students would rather take a tax preparation course than a traditional calculus class, and 83% said that they would rather take a household repair class than an algebra class. Also, there's a graph on your document in front of you, and it shows the challenges that teenagers face when trying to achieve financial success. And as seen, a lack of economic and financial literacy is the second highest challenge. And this problem mainly affects students and young adults around the ages of 18 to 25. And a survey conducted by H&R Block found that 57% of surveyed adults believed that they would have benefited from a course on money management and budgeting in high school. Also, 44% said that a class on filing taxes would also be helpful. Not knowing these skills can also lead these young adults into bad situations. One example is when they don't know how to cook, find healthy foods, or balanced meals. It can lead to unhealthy eating habits and an excessive amount of eating out. Secondly, without proper financial knowledge, these young adults can acquire credit card debt and eventually bankruptcy. Also, many young adults don't know what to do if they get pulled over, their car breaks down or needs repair, or what some of the warning symbols on their dash mean. Lastly, although the core classes such as math, English, science, and history are very beneficial, especially the advanced classes for students who want to further their education into a higher level such as college, some of those skills aren't used every day by people out after high school, but skills such as cooking, taxes, and buying a car or house is something that people have to do every day in their lifetime. And we need this class so that students feel prepared for life after graduation and don't fall into these horrible situations.
So other countries that have tried to solve this problem offer many different things. For example, Japan households, and the others require it because Canada's form of home is development, nutrition, financial management, clothing, and home ec, which is a core curriculum for 7th and an elective. It touches on washing, cleaning. So, food and nutrition is it focuses mainly on just how to cook and eat healthy, whereas Japan focuses on so as seen, while health and nutrition are obesity. Percent and 5%. So home ec greatly improves for citizens where it's in healthcare and by having higher life. So moving on to related press, one state that just took a step in which we also wish to follow was Florida. So they just created a financial literacy bill for high school students, and this bill makes it so a financial literacy class is required for these high school students, and it's half a semester, it's half a credit, which is 1 semester, and this class teaches them things like how to make a bank account, taxes, money management, how to manage your debt, and how credit scores would work. And the governor who signed off on this said that financial literacy is an important skill to have, and having these students learn these skills young will help them support themselves, their families, and their communities. It can even help the economy of Florida grow. So one of the main reasons that phased out through the years, because it often gets a bad rap as a woman's job or unimportant skills. However, as shown from other teammates, that's obviously not true. These skills are really important and they need to be learned by everyone. We're hoping to bring back home ec classes with some things that we're already doing at our school is we're working with our R&C is a class that our freshmen take, which is a high school, college, and career prep course. So in this class, we're working with modified two of our already. First one being our License to Drive project, where all the different parts of it, because I know that when I finished with that project, I still had a lot of questions, and when I got behind the wheel of a car, I was really confused and still really scared. So we think that giving them the chance to actually look at a car can help them to feel more comfortable and help give them, and we can also show them more things about car breaks down or one of the lights. The other presentation project, students essentially their dream career in research. We're hoping to bring in here to help teach kids more about taxes. What we were wanting from you guys is just the class back to Lucia. A required class, well, not required for students to take to graduate, but required that the high school offers a class that has all of these skills that no one is in college or life without knowing all this.
And a couple our school council, our facilitator.
Thank you so much for listening to our presentation this evening. Our contacts are on the bottom of that document that you have in front of you. If you have any questions or comments regarding our issue that we presented to you.
Thank you for being here. We're limited in what we can do, but certainly I'm going to open it up for comments from the board members.
I just have a comment. My grandson was at my home today, and he's leaving off to go to a trade school. And one of the things, he finally found a place to live with just a couple, an older couple whose daughter is in college. And he said, "Grandma, I got to remember to take my own pans because I like to cook my own food."
And we're limited from the Brown Act, so they're the ones that set the rules. Yeah.
I thank you for your presentation. Well received. Just so you know, I'm 63 years old, and in middle school, I know it was junior high. We called it junior high back then. This is a class that we all had to take, and then going back in elementary, we had to learn how to make cook eggs and all these things. That I thank you for this presentation. I'm sure that we will be discussing this further, and thanks for bringing that up.
I'll also concur. Go ahead.
I think some of your ideas are wonderful. I know that at least my daughter, when she went through Campfire, learned all these things. We visited a health department to learn about how to take care of yourself. We had an insurance agent come and talk about insurance. And we worked up budgets. We sewed. We cooked. All those things. And as someone who also went through junior high, and from seventh grade on, I sewed all my clothes, all of them, all the way to graduation in high school. But nowadays it doesn't pay to sew because the fabric's really expensive. But then you could make a little skirt for $5, and every event you just sew different things. I think there's some really good ideas here regarding life skills as far as personal finance and stuff. One of the things that occurs at the school I work at is once the AP test is over, in those classes they teach personal finance because usually the kids are kind of done with the subject that's being taught. And so but one of the math teachers who taught calc said that as much as he went through this whole personal finance course, that some of the kids just weren't ready for it until they had to sign that lease or until they had to buy that car or whatever. But I love your idea of bringing the car on campus. I was really surprised when my kids were growing up how many, especially the girls, didn't even know how to fill their tank up with gas, that dad or mom had done that for them. So I think bringing the car to campus, and if you don't have an auto program at Napomo, that you do that and say, hey, this is where this is and where this is where that is. And because to be a well-informed driver, you have to deal with all sorts of things. So thank you for coming tonight and doing your due diligence to present to the board. It's always a tough one, and we're very receptive to your ideas.
So I'm another one from junior high, home ec,
Yeah.
sewing all my clothes, including my dress
That's
for
right.
graduation from college.
Bridesmaid dresses, the whole thing.
Everything. And now my retirement job is I work at H&R Block. So I totally agree. Knowing a little bit about taxes is important, especially when you go out and get your first job and they don't withhold anything. Yeah, very nice, nicely done on your presentation, and hopefully your teachers who are back there behind you listening to all this, right? Yep. I see some changes coming. Yeah.
And I just want to concur. Thank you for the presentation. You did a great job with your presentation. You did a great job with the supporting documentation and details as well. And I especially want to thank you for just showing up. You are the reason we serve. And the fact that you took time out on your Tuesday night to come and present to the board adds extra meaning and weight to what you shared with us tonight. So thank you for that very much.
Nicely done. Very good.
We'll turn it to Dr. Fawcett, or is that
That's
the
it
report?
for me.
Great.
Yeah, they brought it home.
And with that, we move on to the business of the district. Before we move into the business, just a reminder that any member of the public may comment on agenda items as each item is presented. If you wish to address the board, there are speaker cards in the back lobby, one for the items on the agenda, one color for the items not on this evening's agenda. If you would fill that out and give it to Mrs. Dwight, she'll get it passed up here. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per agenda item, and with a 20-minute total. If anyone needs translation services, we do have Spanish to English and English to Spanish translation available, so just let us know and we can bring that up. On the back of the agenda, we also have expected decorum for the behavior that we just expect in the boardroom, so please familiarize yourself with that. And for those that are new, the Brown Act limits our engagement with public comment. It's really a time for us to receive public comment, but we're not allowed to answer questions or engage in dialogue. That's a different style of meeting. So if we don't answer back, just know that that's because the Brown Act precludes us from doing so. And with that, we will move to tonight's consent calendar, items number 1 through 10. Would any member of the board like to pull an item for discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. If any member of the public would like to comment on the consent calendar, items 1 through 10, now would be the time to do so. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for final comment. Seeing none,
No, good.
I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move approval of the consent calendar, items 1 through 10.
I second.
Motion by Mayor, second by Santos. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Mayer?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Vernier?
Yes.
Ms. Candell?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And before we move to reports and presentations, I would just like to formally congratulate Ms. Raquel Duhano, who now officially becomes the Executive Assistant to the Superintendent in the board. We do too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
John, if that family wants to leave.
You're welcome to stay or not if you want. I mean, I know it's a school night, so we're going to go till like 8:30. Yeah.
They've been so good, though.
They've been really good. You're welcome to stay.
I just want to know how she doesn't get bumped off the horse.
Got spurs on.
I saw.
This now moves us to reports and presentations, resolutions and proclamations. Number 11, the school site presentation, Central Coast New Tech. Dr. Fawcett.
It's a Central Coast New Tech night tonight, and I'm excited to introduce Principal Butler and her team over here. They're going to come up and give us a presentation on the collaborative cycles of inquiry that they work through as adults at the school. So, Sarah, it's all yours.
Wonderful, thank you. We gonna get the,
Just click.
Just click once.
Down
oh,
arrow.
okay, there we go. I'm in.
Look at that.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank all of you for having us tonight, and also to thank you for your just ongoing support of our school, and obviously from tonight, our students. Thank you so much, and always just being there for our event nights, and these special, kids that just really want to like share their hearts tonight. Thank you very much, Dr. Fawcett, for having them tonight. So first, I'd like to introduce my colleagues. Jen Stilitano, Eric Dunham, and Christy Greco, and we're going to be presenting tonight. But as you know, our school began 12 years ago and was really built as a professional learning community. And I know that's really big right now in our district, which is we're so embracing that idea of the PLC model. And our model, of course, began with the inception of our school, evidenced by our community vision, our mission, our pledge, our community pledge, our school-wide learning outcomes, and honestly, our commitment to adult learning. So we have many PLCs at our site, which include our freshman facilitator PLC, our math PLC, 6 inquiry teams. We have 6 inquiry teams and an innovation PLC. But the PLC we're going to talk about tonight is all about our collective PLC, which looks way different than a lot of schools in that, we have a very small staff. And so when I say collective, that means all of us. It means all the teachers and the administrative staff, including myself and our counselor.
Sarah, can you just get a little bit closer to that mic for us? We don't have speakers here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just thought you could hear me. What did you miss? Okay. So anyway, basically, I was just talking about our PLCs and our collective PLC and our here's our guiding coalition, who I just introduced. But our area of focus for our PLCs is really ensuring that our projects are of the highest quality for all of our students. And our focus this year is about mathematical thinking concepts, embedding those into all the projects cross-curricular, and learning walks, which some of you might know as instructional rounds. We call them learning walks. And our goal is to increase student math performance at CCNTH and really to make math more accessible to kids, to make it more relevant for students in all subject areas. And we feel like that's going to be important. It's not all about the CAS scores, but it's about students engaging in math. We have incredible scores, our English language arts and math across, the county, but we always are looking for ways to improve. And that's what we're going to talk to you about and how we're going to do that tonight. We're first going to talk, Jen's going to talk about the protocols and that cycle of inquiry that we're going to be doing, that we do at our school, and what our protocols, many of you might not know what those are. And then Eric's going to be talking about math integration and how we're doing that in our projects. And then Christy's going to finish out talking about our learning walks, instructional rounds, and how we're going to embed that in our culture of our school and for our adult learning. So our short-term goal by the spring of 2024, we have our learning team, which leadership team at other sites call it leadership team. We always have to be different, I guess, but we call it learning team. And we want to bring the learning walks. We want to vet them out. We want to make sure that we have the right strategies in place and to bring that to fruition for the entire staff by the spring. And then our long-term goal is to hopefully see improved math CASP scores and see those math concepts embedded in our CCNTH courses. So here we go.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Jennifer, and as Sarah just talked about kind of why we're doing what we're doing, I'm here to just kind of explain to you really like what protocols mean to us, what they are, and how we use them, and more importantly, to invite you all to come and observe and experience and possibly, if you're willing, participate in one of our protocols with us on Monday. We'd love to have you, but if you can't make it Monday, we have many more scattered throughout the year. So, our school goals really are only possible if we work together to achieve them. And working in PLCs or teams is really the only way we can make progress towards our shared mission of empowering and engaging people to be resilient, adaptive, innovative, and self-directed. And asking professionals to get together and talk and discuss certain topics is one thing, but asking people to work together to achieve a common goal through a cycle of inquiry and come up with data-driven next steps is entirely a different thing than just bringing a group of teachers together to talk about teaching and learning. And research shows that a lack of trust, right, and purpose is the leading cause of a dysfunctional team, and probably the biggest thing that we need to be wary of when asking and giving teachers time to just be together, right, without structure. So we at CCNTH, since the beginning, have been trained by the nonprofit organization, New Tech Network, to use protocols from the National School Reform Faculty and Center for Leadership and Educational Equity during all of our PLC meetings, right? And so those are free for anyone to use too, all of the different protocols on those sites. And protocols, basically, what are they, right? So they're structured processes, right, or guidelines to promote a more meaningful and efficient communication style, to promote problem solving and learning, right, to drive school improvement. And so protocols used within a group setting that share common values permit an honest, deeply meaningful, and often intimate type of conversation, which people are not really in the habit of always having, right? We build skills and culture needed for successful PLC collaboration. So for example, right, I can bring a group of our teachers together on Monday, set an agenda, say, look at some data, talk about it, come up with some next steps. However, some teachers wouldn't feel safe sharing. There'd be a loudest voice in the group, possibly one or two most powerful voices talking and identifying those next steps. But through the use of a protocol, like a looking at student work protocol that we did on our most recent Early Out Wednesday that we've got to do this year, which was a really awesome chunk of time where we got to have lunch together and really dig in for a couple hours going through a full looking at student work protocol, right? We're able to allow the quieter voices, maybe the newer voices, to be heard, right? Thus building trust, right? As well as guiding teachers to extract really relevant data, right? And relevant next steps from what we're looking at. So we use protocols every time our Monday morning entire PLC meets. We're going to be running 2 different protocols on Monday. They're called the Charette protocol, but they're a brainstorming protocol. Because again, we could just say, all right, teachers, we have a new ethnic studies course. Give us your ideas, right? And of course, we'd hear some great ideas and get some great next steps. But through using the Charette protocol and having a facilitator, I imagine we're going to get some really cool next steps that are really data-driven and can capture and encapsulate the voices of all of our staff and stakeholders. So come on Monday. I also wanted to address our wonderful students talking about their ideas of weaving home ec back into the learning path for our students. It's not happening this Monday, but we'll be sure to let you know. I'm going to be running a critical friends protocol to kind of think about how to better weave the budgeting into the presentation Zen project and where to get a car. So, all right, I'm not going to try to do that on myself, but right, we use protocols to kind of make that next step happen for our students. So I'm going to hand things off for Eric to explain a little bit more.
So We're very proud of the fact that our math scores are and our students are doing very well in math, but we definitely have found that there's still an area of growth there. Specifically in our recent WASP study, we discovered that there were some achievement gaps for some of our students, and really kind of developing what we want to see is developing more kind of math reasoning and critical thinking skills across all of our subjects. And so we realize, our ELA scores are like off the charts. And we think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that we run a college readiness assessment program in which all of our students write technical writing in all subject areas throughout all of their core classes. And they're doing significant essays and like analyzing and talking about that specific field in written form. And so we believe that has a huge part of the fact that our ELA scores are so high. And so we are working to kind of replicate that concept and embed math reasoning skills into all of our curriculum. We've started the process with the math department coming together and kind of brainstorming a list of ways that, like easy ways to embed different math concepts in different subject areas. And we've started using these Critical Friends protocols with our staff. And we've done it now twice in both a chemistry project and with an English project, and had some really interesting results come out of that and some interesting ideas that were shared. It was really cool listening to our students talk about how, they were doing some pretty significant statistical analysis within their presentation with you guys. And so love to see that kind of stuff happening all over the place. There's lots of opportunities in their presentations to analyze graphs and data and just become really good, like users of mathematical thinking and reasoning. And so we believe that helping our staff develop and brainstorm new ways to come up with these things, the math department will help develop and then also come in and assess these activities during their presentations and make sure that the projects and the mathematical thinking components are really rigorous and adhere to our standards across our curriculum. And we're really excited about this and hope that we can continue to look at our students' work and see just math reasoning pop off of all of their presentations and all of their projects. And looking forward to the work that comes ahead. I'll pass it off to Ms. Greco.
So the next facet of our learning goal is the implementation of our learning walks, also known as instructional rounds. These walks will help staff address our problem statement of, which is up on the slide, how do we as engaged project and problem-based facilitators sustain a school culture that is hungry for feedback and improvement so that we can enhance best project-based learning and problem-based learning practices. The development of learning walks will allow us to observe best practices live in the classrooms as students are actively engaged in learning. Here on the slide, you can see a template, a snapshot of what an observation tool would be that a teacher would use when going on a learning walk in a classroom. Many times the observations will be based around a project-based or problem-based learning best practice being used in the classroom, but eventually we hope to expand that to looking at mathematical thinking on our learning walks. All this can happen because of our collective PLC, which is our whole staff. Because of that, we have an awareness of all the projects and learnings happening in all of our classes. The learning walk structure will be used to build upon best project-based and problem-based learning practices with the hopes of improving student learning for our wonderful students. Learning walks will also allow us to continue to keep our classroom doors open for observation and collaborative work. We have an open door policy. You are welcome to come anytime. Teachers are welcome to come anytime. So by using learning walks as a vehicle for teacher learning, this work will support our staff in achieving both our short-term and long-term goals, also listed on the slides. So to conclude, we would like to open up the floor to any questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. Questions from board members? Seeing no questions from board members, if any member of the public would like to comment on item number 11, now would be the time to do so. I know we have a fan club, multiple fan clubs going on. Seeing no movement in the boardroom, we're going to close public comment and bring it back to the board for comment.
I think your open door policy is fabulous. A long time ago when I was a teacher at Dana, we had classrooms with doors that opened in the middle so we could go back and forth. In fact, Mr. Stinson was in 3rd grade next to me. I don't remember him being there as a student, but I remember his teacher, and we used to get together a lot. And building that trust between all of you it's wonderful. Really wonderful.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. Any other comments, Mrs. Martin?
Well, I really like math because we often hear from kids, oh, I don't need to learn algebra or geometry or whatever because it's not relevant. And then they come into me and say, how do I figure out my GPA? And I'm like, it's an old algebra problem. Don't you remember it? You know? Anyways, I like the idea of having a focus area in academics that's a strand through everything. I remember when my kids were here at UCMR for a couple of years, we worked on writing, and even in PE, you had writing. But talking about math, bringing math into a lot of conversations and a lot of things we do that aren't a math class is the way that we get kids to like math. And oftentimes I think that I don't like math or I'm not good at math attitude actually makes a kid who could be good at math turn off to it. So thank you for encouraging positive feelings towards math in other subject areas.
Any other comments from board members? Ms. Naomi Vernier.
These are all pathways to careers. I mean, and this is readiness. This is about functional life skill development, you know, and I thank you for your presentation.
I'll just concur. I'm really excited that you're embedding math, reasoning, and problem solving in all content areas, right? So that we get to walk the walk, and it's not just theory, but it's in application as well. And just reinforcing that focus of trust, which is vital to effective teamwork. So thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hey, it's a Dire Wolf night.
Yes. And just so you know, our first project event night is Math Art Night, which is November 16th. And we hope you're there.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Butler.
And you got the shining star of all shining stars, Raquel Lahana. So.
Oh, we know. Which moves us to item number 12, a report, the biannual review of guidance and counseling plans. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, President Stewart. Mrs. Pierce is on her way up to present this item, and as she gets ready to do that, I will just say that our counseling plan is reviewed annually with our incredible counseling team. We are so proud that they are legion and across our district. And so tonight, Mrs. Pierce will be presenting some updates relative to the plan and sharing some things that we have accomplished relative to last year's plan. So I'll hand it over to her.
Thank you. So we got an update in the spring with our passionate counselors, and so I wanted to report on some of the goals that we had from that counseling plan and where we are with those goals. So the first one would be the areas of alignment for career and college offerings between our middle and high schools. So we did meet that goal. We've met at least 3 times with California colleges, and we really have a good plan to use the platform. The middle school and high school counselors met and collaborated on how we can have students go from middle school to high school and use the platform and already be familiar with it. So we're not taking that time in high school and it's something brand new to them. So they do interest inventories and other things that the program has to offer. So that was a goal that we're very proud to have met. And it's ongoing because we're continuing to use the platform in new ways as we discover them. Our second goal was to have a full-time counselor at all comprehensive school sites. And thank you to the board, we do have that. So that was met. All sites have full-time counselors. We are going to use SABRS data at elementary sites, and that's a goal in progress. Counselors continue to use the data that we get from that to form counseling groups and meet with teachers, meet with parents, and check on students who have identified as having a higher level of need. Our counselors have gotten together and they have talked about what do we do now that we have all this great data from teachers and from students alike. So we have a plan, and it's just about ready to start with getting some more data now, and we will continue to use that data to inform our practice and meet groups and meet the level of our students. Our next goal was to improve school climate and engagement through campus-wide behavior value expectations such as Eagle Rider, Titan Pride, Dire Wolf Pledge elements. That's a goal in progress. We have some schools that are there. They've developed those goals. They're working on their PBIS. And then we have some schools that are in the process of that. So that's a goal that the counselors work on with the staff to develop that school climate and kind of some school-wide expectations. So that's a goal in progress, but we're making a lot of progress with that, and we see that at our sites, which is great. Another goal is student support advocates at our middle schools. So we have that goal met. Those student support advocates, we've hired TOSAs to support students and teachers with behavior, and they work with students that the counselors or that teachers or administrative staff on site have talked about that these students need more support. So our behavior TOSAs are meeting with those students to kind of give them a boost up or give them some extra support. Our next goal was to explore the college and career readiness. Most of our schools are now doing career fairs and college and career pathways. We are in progress of that. We have some schools that are meeting, they'll put on one career fair and other schools will come to that career fair. So we're really proud that our students are getting to explore careers in elementary school, middle school, and high school. We've got our elementary schools that are taking tours of our junior colleges around here. So they're getting that exposure early on in elementary school. So in progress, we're hoping to do more career fairs and have just increased that program. Our next goal was to develop and implement opportunities for alternative recess. That's in progress. We have quite a few sites that are using alternative recess. We know that not everybody wants to go out there and play soccer or just kind of hang around. So it's an alternative place that has games and card games and different kinds of things that kids can be engaged in that's not out on the playground. It's usually a classroom that's converted. So we do have a few schools that have got that in place, and it's really been a valuable tool for those kids that may not want to go out and go to recess. So it's an alternative place. And then our last goal was begin to develop check-in, check-out behavior support systems at the elementary level. Almost every school is using this. So we've developed the program, we've rolled it out, and most of our elementary schools are using this. We're developing and refining the system, so kids will check in at the beginning of the day with either a counselor or a staff member, or discuss their goals for the day, and then at the end of the day they check out, and it's kind of facilitating that positive behavior reward system and celebrating the positive things that they've done. So they have a chance to earn stars or checks or whatever it is that they are working on. So those are the goals that we had for our counseling plan last year. And I want to go over just a few of the goals that we're working on this year. I know we're early into the year, but one of our goals is to fully implement California colleges for FAFSA completion and participate in training to fully implement the program. I mentioned before that we've had 3 trainings with California colleges with their staff. Quite a few people are helping to train our staff, and we're continuing to find out what that program can offer our students and how we can utilize it further. So we are really working hard on that, and we've already had 2 meetings with them this year already. We are utilizing additional professional resources for Tier 2 and Tier 3 support. So we're kind of picking and choosing, see whatever we can do. Some schools have an actual Tier 2 or Tier 3 team that they use, and they'll talk about those kids that need that extra support and what we can do for them. And so we are going out there to find the resources to help support those kids that need that just a little bit higher level of support. And then we've talked before about the SB HIP grant funding, and I'm proud to say that we have behavior TOSAs at each of our middle schools, which is quite an accomplishment because I just met at the state level and they cannot fill these positions. So we're really lucky that we have one at Judkins, Mesa, and Paulding, and those teachers are working on behaviors. They're working on some positive things with kids to help teachers, model lessons, just kind of help with all the behaviors that we're seeing in school. The other thing I'm very proud about is besides our guidance counselor, we have full-time social emotional counselors at each middle school. And that's a huge accomplishment because counselors are in short supply. And we are very lucky that on top of our guidance counselor, we also have a full-time counselor at each middle school that is doing groups or individual counseling as needed. And then we have student support advocates at middle schools, and we are expanding to support students and families. So we're just trying to figure out what families and students need, how we can support them, and what we can do on the counseling side to kind of make that happen. So those are some of the goals that we're really focusing on now. A couple more, the continued development and implementation of the check-in, check-out system. And like I said, it's almost at every one of our elementary schools. So we'd like to see it at every one of our elementary schools to kind of reward that positive behavior. And we're continuing to do that. The last one is training on a peer mediation program to be used for elementary schools. So Branch kind of started this peer mediation program, has trained our counselors, and we are using it. I think we've got 3 or 4 schools that are using it now. So we're taking peers, we're training them. They're usually 5th or 6th graders, and they are helping to mediate some of the problems with other students. And it's been very successful, and we're just starting to roll it out at more schools. So we'd like to see that developed and used across the board. So that's something that we're working on as well right now. So I thank you. You guys are always very supportive with counseling, and I thank you for all the support you give us, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce. Questions? Ms. Naomi Vernier.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. In regards to First English learners, how are you addressing the behavioral supports when they're First English learners?
We address all students, but we do have some specific support. We noticed a need at Aurora Grande High School with our English learners, and so we do have behavioral health that is coming in and contracting with us to provide them with some specific support for our English language learners. We kind of use all the resources that we can get to support them. We've got our partners with our FIT program. Sometimes they are usually associated with that program, so we've got some support there. We've got some advocates that work with those students as well. We have student advocates at most of our schools that can help support them.
Great. And then in regards to career readiness, when it comes to First English learners, how are we addressing that as well?
It's exposing them to careers, what's out there, and that's through our career fairs and through our social emotional programs, and our counselors talking about it, doing presentations. We'll have guest speakers. So it's all about exposure to see what's out there. Sure.
Ms. Martin.
So you said on the third bullet, it was using Savers data at the elementary site. I'm assuming we're already using it at the junior high and high school?
Yes, we use it there as well.
Yeah.
We just are in the process of redoing it for this year right now. So they're in the process of retaking the Savers for this year.
So I am the site administrator for California Colleges for the last 5 years, and I will forward you all my little videos on how to correct accounts and everything else.
Great.
The biggest recommending I have is please don't change student emails, or it makes the whole system really not work, and it's really a bummer. But the one thing that I'm always pushing with our teachers, and they don't take advantage of it, is the lesson section on the educator dashboard. If you go to the lessons, they have by grade level. They're wonderful sub-plans. And I'm always trying to convince teachers, why don't you use these as sub-plans? The sub-plan can be completely an outlier from the subject you're teaching, right? It's just maintaining the status quo. So to me, those sub-plans, those lessons, which are perfect, they're 45-minute lessons, if you're in a perfect world where you have a 6-period day, then you would can use them as great sub-plans, and they're age appropriate, and they're identified by grade. They're just awesome. So.
I'll pass that along. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'll send you whatever I got.
That's awesome. Thank you. We can always use more help.
Well, when it comes to messing with the student accounts, you will need help.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions from board members? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. If any member of the public would like to comment on item number 12, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no movement in the boardroom, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the board for comment.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. It's always great. Thank you for the work that you're doing and supporting our students and student success and health and safety. So we look forward to having you back for the next update.
You're welcome. Thank you
I have
for
one
the
more
support.
question. Are we a partner district where their grades and transcript are uploading into the
Yes.
system? Okay,
Yes,
great.
we're working out all those little kinks right now.
Oh, and you will.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a report only. We're going to close item number 12 and move on to item number 13. A report, first reading, the initial proposal for collective bargaining from the Lucia Mar Unified Teachers Association to the Lucia Mar Unified School District for the 2023-2024 negotiations. Dr. Handy.
Thank you, President Stewart. Government Code 3540, commonly known as the RADA Act, or EERA, governs employer-employee relations for California public school employees. Section 3547 specifically states meeting and negotiating shall not take place until after the proposals have been presented to the public, which is a two-step process. So this is step 1 of 2 for LMUTA Sunshine. The Sunshine Clause of the RADA Act requires that each party's initial bargaining proposal, the topics that will be negotiated, be presented for public comment at a publicized school board meeting prior to the beginning of the negotiation process. The public must be given a reasonable time to consider the proposal, comment publicly, and then comments are considered at a subsequent meeting of the governing board. So the attachment in today's board memo is the initial bargaining position of Lucia Mar Unified Teachers Association is presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions regarding process, but I can't speak for LMUTA.
Thank you, Dr. Handy. Questions from board members? Seeing that, we'll go to public comment. If any member of the public would like to comment on item number 13, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no movement in the boardroom, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the board for comment. Seeing, Mrs. Mayor?
Well, I was just thinking the delay in the taxes is going to delay everything. Right? Probably. Okay.
This is a report and a first reading, so we will see this again for a next reading. Great. Thank you, Dr. Handy. That closes item number 13 and brings us to item number 14. Approval, adoption of resolution A-2324-07 to update previously approved intention to convey grant of temporary construction easement agreement affecting real property at Oceano Elementary School to Oceano Community Services District for stormwater capture and groundwater recharge project to include new project description and assessor's parcel number APM. Mr. Eichenberger.
The third CBO to deal with this. No, just kidding.
It might feel that way. So back in February, when the board approved the resolution for the temporary easement, the OCSD had the wrong parcel number. So it was an error. They were off by one parcel as part of their project. So ultimately, this is shifting the project to the appropriate parcel number.
Thank you, Mr. Eichberger. Questions from board members? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. If any member of the public would like to comment on item number 14, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no movement in the boardroom, I will close public comment and bring it back to the board for comment. Seeing no comment, I'll entertain a motion for approval and adoption.
I move approval, adoption of resolution A-2324-07 to update previously approved intention to convey grant of temporary construction easement agreement affecting real property at Oceano Elementary School to Oceano Community Services District for stormwater capture and groundwater recharge project to include new project description and assessor's correct parcel number APN.
Second.
Motion by Martin, second by Mayor. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayor?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Vernier?
Yes.
Ms. Handel?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Which brings us to item number 15, approval, adoption of resolution A-2324-08, reallocation of committed funds for cost of living adjustment reservation. Mr. Eichenberger.
Thank you, President Stewart. When we reflect back on the June budget adoption, there was a lot of uncertainty. Now, I would love to say that there is not still that uncertainty. However, Trustee Mayor did share that the state has again pushed back those personal income taxes, which are one of the three big, quote, big areas of revenue for the district. So back in June, the board, given that uncertainty, set aside money based on not knowing if the actual adopted budget would be an 8.22% COLA, which ended up happening. The reason why the board took that funding and put it in a committed account is because under Senate Bill 751, there is a maximum amount of, we call it excess reserves or general fund that we're able to have, and it's capped at 10%. Ultimately, the board set that money aside because there was talk that that COLA of an 8.22 could actually be reduced down to a 5.01% COLA, which ultimately is $3.6 million. So what this resolution does is now that the COLA was fully funded at the 8.22%, this resolution would basically allocate or we would allow for the board to release that commitment of funds, meaning the resolution was written in such a way that the board has to take action to make those monies available for something other than that COLA reduction.
Thank you, Mr. Eichberger. Questions from board members? Ms. Pham.
So originally we had that reserve of 10%, and then we took this amount out of that 10%, and now we're putting it back in or making it available, or is it on top of that 10% we are already?
This is on top of that 10% as additional reserves that were actually, the term is committing the funds so that it if you think of it as a separate savings account, then the regular budget, if we're thinking of our personal budgets, if I want to set aside money to buy a car for my kiddo that's going to be 16 soon, I put it in a separate account that's different than my checking account. If you think of the general fund as a 10% maximum checking account that you can have as a reserve, you would put that money aside and say it can only be spent on this. What that would mean is that these monies would only have been able to be used if the COLA did not come in at that full 8.22%. So what this does is it releases those above that 10% maximum that we were able to carry during budget adoption. So it will show as available funds during the first interim report.
Any other questions from board members? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. If any member of the public would like to comment on item number 15, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no movement in the boardroom, we're going to close public comment and bring it back to the board for comment.
I just like the line that says uncertainty remains high due to the postponement of personal income tax filing deadline. And this was printed before yesterday.
It was. They kicked the can down the road a little bit more.
Okay.
So is that his motion?
No, it's not a motion yet, but thank you. Any other comments from board members? Now I'll entertain a motion for approval and adoption.
Go ahead, Ms. Bookkeeper.
I move approval of adoption of resolution A-2324-08, reallocation of committed funds for cost of living adjustment reservation.
Second.
Motion by Mayor, second by Santos. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Mayor?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Vernier?
Yes.
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Which brings us to items scheduled for discussion, possible action items. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Mayor to introduce the rest of tonight's agenda.
You did quite well. Where's my whole thing? Will be enough. Item number 16, approval agreement with, no, that's not 16. That is 16.
Yeah, it is.
Agreement between the CMR Unified School District and the California Lutheran University to provide field work placements for administrative services credential candidates. Ms. Hand.
Thank you, Vice President Mayor. California Lutheran University operates an approved program of special training to provide clinical experience through supervised field work to students enrolled in their preliminary administrative services credential program. A component of the program calls for CLU students to participate in these clinical learning experience under the supervision of a fully credentialed administrator. The clinical learning experiences include supervised field work at schools and in classrooms in the LuciaMar Unified School District. The assigned district representative is responsible for ongoing communication with the university, as well as the designation of district employees responsible for direct supervision of assigned students during their clinical program. A current employee of ours is enrolled in CLU's administrative program, approached us, and is requesting a partnership to permit them to participate in the aforementioned experiences on our campuses, which we support. We anticipate implementation of the clinical learning to begin in January 2024. That particular employee also has their assigned supervisor who's agreeing to participate. And so the district is entering into this agreement to continually support the development of future school administrators who may go through their doors and in our county, and it's for a 5-year term through June 30th, 2028. So it is recommended that the board approve the agreement between LuciaMar and California Lutheran University for these administrative candidates.
Any questions? I asked my questions already because I read the thing and it says up to 75K candidates. And I went, a lot of people.
That would be
Any
nice.
questions? Any questions from those of you in the audience? Any comments from board members? No, once I got my questions answered, I thought, well, that'll be good. It'd be nice if we had 75 candidates, wouldn't it?
Be awesome.
Yeah. So this is up for approval. We need a motion.
I move approval agreement between the CMR Unified School District and California Lutheran University, CalLU, to provide fieldwork placements for administrative services credential candidates.
Second. Been moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Trustee Candell. Roll call, please.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Agenda item number 17, approval, second reading, revision of board policies and administrative regulations. Fawcett.
Thank you, Trustee Mayor. Before you tonight is the second review of the board policies and administrative regulations that have been updated, and they are here tonight for your approval.
Any questions from board members? Any comments from our audience on this item? Comments from board members? My comments.
So this item has a policy regarding finances, work assignments, political activities of employees, academic honesty, suicide prevention, safety, differential graduation, good competency standards for students with disabilities. So it just has a good variety of what some of the policies that we as a board make our decisions based on. It talks about IEP, student assessment, education for English learners. And it was really a good update. It was interesting how through all of our policy updates, instead of saying Board of Trustees, it says Governing Board now. And just little nuances to wording for all the policies that made good sense. A huge big addition under the suicide prevention and intervention section. So it was very timely.
Anybody else comment? We need a motion.
Move approval of second reading, revision of board policies and administrative regulations.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Santos, seconded by Ms. Martin. We need a roll call, please.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Kendall?
Yes.
Pham?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Agenda item number 18 is the first reading of revision of board policies, administrative regulations, and bylaws. This one covers political processes, use of school facilities, food service operations, and attorney. Dr. Fawcett.
Thank you, Trustee Mayor. This is the first read of the next batch of policies. These recent policies came from CSBA with recommendations in September, and we're processing those now. And I just want to say that our assistant superintendents and their administrative assistants and Ms. White put a tremendous amount of time and energy into poring over these and doing the red line versions for your review, so it's easier to read. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to thank them as well for putting these together. This is the first read. I'm not asking for any action, just review. Thanks.
Anybody have a question at this point? Any questions from our audience? Any other comments from this one?
Yes. This is a first reading, but the last section, contacting legal counsel. I'm just going to read through it. It's very brief. The board president or superintendent may, at their discretion, confer with district legal counsel subject to any limits or parameters established by the board. In addition, the board president or superintendent may contact district legal counsel to provide the board with legal information or advice when so directed by a majority of the board. One wonders, why would a board president need to contact legal counsel? Well, the board hires one employee, the superintendent. If something critical were to happen to our superintendent, the board president could call legal and get advice about what we should do in the superintendent's absence. That's a perfect example. Individual board members other than the board president may not seek advice from district legal counsel on matters of district business unless so authorized by the superintendent, the board president, or majority of the board. That's the last line of this section of these policies, and I think it's very important that everyone take notice of that.
Thank you. I do too. Okay.
Ready?
We're not doing anything with that one.
It's the first reading. Yeah.
First reading. So we're going on to item number 19, which is action of student expulsion, student discipline case numbers 23-24-003 and 23-24-004.
The Board of Trustees finds there is cause to expel student case 23-24-003 from all schools in the district for violation of Education Code sections 48900A2 and 48900A1. It is further moved that the board adopt the recitals, agreements, rehabilitation plan, and readmission review date as set forth in the October 16th, 2023 agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion.
Second. Okay. Been moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Santos. We need a roll call, please.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Vernier?
Yes.
Ms. Candell?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Ms. Mayer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Which brings us to public comment
I
on
have another
items
one.
not on the agenda.
I have another
Oh, you have another one. I thought that was, okay, sorry. There are
The
two.
Board of Trustees finds there is cause to expel student case 2324-004 from all schools in the district for violation of Education Code sections 48900B, 48900C, 48900H, and 48900J. It is further moved that the board adopts the recitals, agreements, rehabilitation plan, and readmission review date as set forth in the October 16th, 2023 agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion and suspension of expulsion.
Second. Been moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Santos. Roll call, please.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Vernier?
Yes.
Yes.
Pham?
Yes.
Ms. Mayer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Now we're moving on to public comment. Items not on the agenda this evening. Did we get any speaker cards at all? No? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at this time? Seeing none, I'll move to adjourn at 11 minutes after 8. Is that it? 8:10. And our next meeting is November 3rd?
14th.
14th, middle of November. We only have one meeting in November, right?
Just
Okay.
Just one.
So our meeting is adjourned for this evening. Thank you all for coming.